I was 17 the night it happened, old enough to think I understood the world, young enough to be wrong about absolutely everything. My parents were out of town for the week, down in Oregon, and it was my first time being home alone. I felt invincible. My buddy and I were hanging out at my place near First Beach on Kawkawa Lake. Around 2:30 in the morning, we decided to walk to his place up at Second Beach, past Pools Resort. Back then, the area wasn't nearly as developed as it is now. No street lights, no houses peeking through the trees, just wilderness, shadows, and a single road curling through the dark. It was a warm summer night with a full moon hanging low over the lake. The visibility was surprisingly good for that hour. We started up the hill, feeling wild and stupid, the way only teenagers can. That's when we started doing wolf howls. Long, dramatic, echoing howls, seeing who could do it louder, not caring who heard. We were just having fun. We reached the fork in the road, the left path winding down towards Second Beach, the right toward the Othello tunnels, when everything changed. From the bluff to our left came a sound I still struggle to describe. Maybe sound isn't the right word. It was more like being hit by a wall of noise. A roar, a scream, a howl, something impossible. I'd been to metal concerts in Vancouver, standing right up against the speakers, feeling the music rattle my bones. This was louder. This vibrated me. Skin, ribs, everything. It started as a deep, thunderous bellow, and then climbed into a shrill, piercing screech that no human throat could ever make. We froze. Then the trees on the bluff began to move, not just swaying, thrashing. A massive cedar shook so violently that the needles and branches rained down in the moonlight. It looked like a child was shaking a toy tree, not a living giant rooted in the earth. And then, it stepped out. The first thing I remember is its width. Its shoulders looked as wide as a doorway. No neck, just a hulking silhouette that made everything around it seem small. In the moonlight, it looked grayish, maybe black. Hard to tell. What I could tell was that it was tall, much taller than any man. When I went back the next day, I measured the tree it stood beside and realized it had to be 9, maybe 10 feet tall. When it looked at us, everything inside me collapsed at once. Its eyes, I can still see them. A burning reddish-orange glow, like embers fanned by a sudden breath of wind. When its gaze locked onto mine, something primal opened up inside me. Pure, unfiltered terror. I felt paralyzed, like my thoughts were draining away, like it was pulling my will straight out of my feet and into the earth. That was the moment survival kicked in. We ran. 2 terrified teenagers sprinting down that moon-washed road, not daring to look back. We didn't slow down until we reached the house, lungs burning, legs shaking so violently we could barely stand. It took me years, decades, to be able to talk about it without my voice cracking. Now, looking back as a grown man, I think our wolf howls might have triggered it. Maybe it thought we were challenging it, or trespassing, or threatening something we didn't understand. Maybe it was warning us, or maybe we were seconds away from becoming a memory. Whatever that thing was, whatever lives in those woods around Kawkawa Lake, it heard us that night, and it wanted us gone. It was the summer of 2006, one of those years when my father and I took our annual trip to northern Maine, our favorite place in the world, Jackman. We didn't hunt, we didn't fish. We just liked the quiet, watching moose and exploring the maze of old logging roads that vanished deep into the dark Maine wilderness. If you've never been up there, you can't imagine how remote it is. Once you leave Route 201, dozens of ancient roads splinter off into the forest, each one branching into smaller and smaller paths until you're swallowed whole by the trees. On most nights, there's nobody out there except the occasional logging truck. Or something else. That night, after picking up a pizza in town, we drove about 12 miles into the woods to eat in peace. The sun sank fast, and with the new moon overhead, the forest turned pitch black. We had only the car's headlights and a heavy spotlight to cut through the dark. For fun, maybe out of boredom, maybe out of stupidity, I pulled out a predator call, a rabbit in distress scream. Normally that sound wakes the entire forest, birds, coyotes, even the bears if they're near. But that night, nothing answered. Just a dead, ringing silence. Around 10 p.m. we drove a few miles back towards the main road and turned the car around. I tried the call again. Still nothing. No wind, no insects, not even the usual rustle of small animals. It was so dark, I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. Even my father whispered, "This doesn't feel right." We waited 20 minutes, then headed back the way we'd come. And that's when we saw it. Something was lying in the middle of the road, steam rising from it in the cold air. When I hit it with the spotlight, we realized it was a rabbit. Fresh kill. Its stomach torn open. Whatever dropped it must have been close. We turned the car around again. I wanted to wait. If something had been scared off, maybe it would come back. 5 minutes passed. Nothing. I tried the predator call again. 2 minutes. Call again. Then I heard something. A faint whistling sound off to the right. But it wasn't whistling. It was birds, chirping louder and louder, as if something on the forest floor was disturbing them. The sound grew, spreading, rippling through the brush. Something was walking out there. Something big. As the birds fell silent again, the footsteps started. Not the clumsy crashing of a moose. This was deliberate movement. Slow, heavy, controlled. Branches snapped under its weight, and I could hear leaves raining down with each step. It was coming towards us. We had no weapons. A rental sedan. A single flashlight barely capable of piercing the wall of thick undergrowth. My father whispered, "We should go." But curiosity won out. I told him to wait. I increased the calls to once a minute. Each time, silence. Then one massive step closer. 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 After about 5 minutes, the footsteps stopped entirely. Whatever it was, stood within 30 feet of us. But the woods were too thick to see anything. I changed the call to once every 30 seconds. Nothing. Total silence. The rabbit lay in the road, still steaming. No wind. No movement. I tried the call one more time, and instantly, within a second, something roared back. a guttural, shaking, primal growl that rattled my chest and filled my vision with static. I told my father, "Hands on the keys, get ready." I called again. Another roar, this one even closer. A horrible mix between a raspy cough and a high-pitched whooping shriek. I'd never heard anything like it. Branches cracked, brush bent. Something massive was walking straight toward us, but the light showed nothing. My father flipped on the headlights to check the rabbit. Still nothing. I tried to call a final time. The roar that came back was so loud, I felt it in my spine. I spun with the spotlight and saw a birch tree beside the road, leaning, bending inward as if something behind it were pushing it toward the car. But nothing was there. No shape, no shadow. Just the tree, straining under invisible weight. "Go!" I yelled. My father hit the gas and we tore down the road. But the night had one more surprise. A few miles ahead, at the exact spot we'd been sitting earlier, something placed a huge rock the size of a tire rim directly in the middle of the road. It hadn't been there before. We swerved around it and didn't stop until we hit Route 201. The next day, in the bright safety of morning, we returned. The rock was gone. The rabbit was gone. No blood, no fur, nothing. The birch tree was still bent, and the grass was matted down in a massive impression about the size of a pickup truck. Something huge had been sitting there. We didn't go back that night. We stayed near the main road, watching a moose when it happened. A long, echoing howl rose from the direction of the previous night. Low, mournful, powerful, like a foghorn mixed with a human scream. It rolled across the valley, shaking the air. I've heard recordings since then, Bigfoot howls they call them, and I'll say this: whatever was in the woods that night wanted us gone, and it had the strength to make sure we left.